Marketing That Works is the podcast for business owners who want to move their brand forward so that they can bring in more sales and clients. I'm Danielle Harris, and I'm bringing you what I know from more than 12 years of experience in traditional and online marketing. I have created marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes, from multi-million-dollar corporations to early-stage online businesses. Remember, some marketers chase fads. I believe in mastering the fundamentals.
You know, if you want new results, you have to try new things. But for some reason, it just feels hard to try and make a new marketing strategy. It feels awkward trying a method when you're not 100% certain of the results you'll get at the end. So today, I want to dive into some of the reasons why you're apprehensive towards experimenting in your marketing. I want you to use this as a resource that you revisit time and time again when you are trying to make and do something new, but you just can't seem to take action. Now, first, plain and simple, you want to experiment, but you have no idea where to start. You might hear things like, oh, you need to experiment, you need to test, you need to do all these things, but you're thinking, experiment with what? Test what? What am I looking for? You have this energy and this desire to experiment, but nowhere to point it towards. And honestly, that is completely valid. So right now, let's figure this out. To start experimenting, you need to have a clear goal because it determines what you change. If you set a vague target, you don't know where to start. A specific goal lets you know what to tweak. For example, let's say that you've been dreaming of having this super engaged email list that really helps you to sell your offer, where people just run to open every single email. If your goal at the end of the day is like, okay, yes, I want to have this engaged email list, I really want to focus on higher open rates. So if that's your goal, then you'd be experimenting with subject lines. But if your goal instead was more conversions, then your experimentation is going to be focused more on the content and trying new ways to create urgency to buy. The goal and the outcome that you want to have will lead and decide what things you are testing. Testing subject lines will lead to higher open rates. Testing content will lead to new data around what makes people buy. So decide, what do you want to work on? Do you want to work on opening hooks that capture attention? Do you want to work on creating more specific content? Something that I do all the time with my one-on-one clients is I help them determine what's the best thing to focus on based on their goals. So if you need help deciding, you can message me on Instagram or you can send me a quick little email because I really want you to have this be the summer of experimentation, and I don't want this to be a reason why you don't start. So now you've decided what you want to test, but something else might be in the way. The second big reason why people hesitate to experiment with their marketing is that they don't want to be seen trying. We feel like we need to have it all together before we show up online. So experimenting, it feels like a threat. Doing something where the results are not guaranteed feels like a direct attack to the image that we want others to have of us. Now, I'll talk about myself. I like the stories of people who are working and trying and putting all this effort to get what they want. I love hearing that. It's so inspiring. But I don't want that for me. Like, I want to be this complete natural. I want to be naturally gifted at everything I do. I remember even as a kid, I didn't want people to hear me practice. I wanted to be first chair for the flute at the top band in my school, and I wanted it, but I didn't want people to see or hear me practicing the audition music, both in band practice or at home. Like, I literally practiced without really blowing that hard into the flute because I didn't want my mom to hear it if I messed up. I didn't want her to check in on me and say, like, oh, what are you doing? You messing up? I didn't want that. I didn't practice at school because I didn't want other people to know that like I was coming for them or that I was trying or that I really, really wanted it. I wanted to just pop out playing the piece perfectly as a natural talent. Now, I did blow everyone else away in that flute audition. Everyone was playing this one note flat and it was sharp, and I ate that up because of course I did. But that same approach, that same logic, it just won't work with marketing. The nature of practicing marketing is doing it in public. And honestly, it can be even harder for people who work in and around the marketing space. I had someone who works in the content creation space tell me that because her offer is to help people come up with ideas, it feels weird to experiment with her content. If her content flops and people see it, then she's like, well, why would then people want to buy and work with me? Because my whole thing is making sure everything works. So if I'm experimenting and it flops, in her head, she's thinking like, oh, and they're going to associate that if she has flopped content, then I'm going to have flopped content. And why would I work with someone who has flopped content? Like that's the logic that works through her brain. I even had another client tell me the same thing. She helps people with YouTube and other long form content. And she doesn't want to be seen trying and potentially failing with the thing that people are paying her to get help with. And I'm going to tell you what I told them because it was also told to me. You can look successful or you can be successful. And this statement, it really got me because we spend a lot of time and effort and energy towards looking like we know what we're doing, looking professional, looking like we have it all together and figured out. But the way you figure it out, the way that you know what you're doing is by actually doing and actually trying. I was talking to a friend and we were talking about how people love seeing old videos of the rapper and singer Doechii because she was trying in public. She didn't know at the time how things would work out for her and her career, but she was committed to figuring it out. And now we can see and look back on all of her progress on YouTube of her making videos in her bedroom, now all the way to the Grammys. And this, it inspires us. But you might be thinking like, yeah, that works for Doechii, that works for her, but that's not for me. Which honestly, it leads to the final reason why you're avoiding experimenting with your marketing and your content. It's because you're concerned that you'll put all this time and effort into trying and experimenting, and that in the end, it might be a big waste of time. You're stressed that you'll have nothing to show for it because of cringy videos. You don't want to spend too much time doing things that are the wrong things. You want results now. You have goals that you want to hit now, and you only want to focus your attention on the things that will work. I get it. I understand. But quick question though. If you only want to spend time on things that will work, how will you know it will work unless you try it? I'll let that sit there for a second. How will you know unless you try it? See, I got you there. Because if this is running through your head, it is honestly more of a question of faith than anything else. If you are saying this, if this is running through your head, you honestly believe that you are being logical and sensible with this answer. I know because that's how I see it myself. I say things like, oh, I'm being so smart and I'm just going to focus on the things I'm sure will work. And then I'd proceed to, quote, do research, AKA seeing what a bunch of other people are doing, looking for the best way. And then next thing I know, I've spent weeks researching the best way to do something instead of just doing something. So for all of my logic people who don't want to waste time, I'll tell you this. You'll only be wasting your time if you don't learn. When you start trying and experimenting, you'll learn what things work, what things don't work. You'll see areas to tweak. You'll get new ideas for things to try, and it will happen quickly if you actually take action. I've just started my summer of experimentation, and I've already got ideas of things to try, things that I can work on because I got started, and I got started imperfectly. But that's a whole other tangent for another time. I'm testing how many IG stories I can post before the views drop off. I'm testing IG poll stickers. I'm gathering data on what types of questions start the most conversations. I'm pushing myself to try new editing styles for my reels and noting if that makes a difference in the views. And I am not sure if it will work. Even with all the research, you won't be 100% sure if it will work for you unless you try and unless you experiment. Because one thing is certain, doing nothing will ensure that nothing works, and deciding not to learn from the action that you do take will also guarantee that nothing will work and nothing will change. So, we've covered the main reasons why you're avoiding experimenting with your marketing. We talked about how, number one, you just don't know where to start. And I'm being so serious when I say this. Come and email me, come and message me on Instagram if you are not sure where to start. I'm so happy to help you kick off this process. Then, number two, we talked about the awkwardness of being seen trying, how having people witness you take action and maybe not getting it right feels like a threat to your image. And then third, we talked about wanting to guarantee results and how the only way to know if an action will guarantee results is to actually take the action. Now, I know testing and trying can feel like a lot of pressure. Pressure to test the right things, pressure to still look like an authority while trying, pressure to get the results after testing. But testing doesn't have to feel pressurized. I want you to spend the summer having fun. I want you to approach testing and trying new things in your marketing with a sense of lightness and curiosity. Even if in the past you have felt like you needed to get all of the things right in order for it to be worth it. My top goal with my one-on-one clients is getting them comfortable trying and experimenting with their marketing. Of course, because they'll get more comfortable with trying, but also because experimenting really sets them up for their next launch so beautifully. By the time my clients are ready for their fall launches or gearing up to fill more people into their one-on-one programs, their audiences will already be used to seeing them. Their audiences will already be engaged and they will know what content works best for their niche. I want you to have that warmed up audience and data too. That's why this summer it has to be about experimentation. When you work with me in my one-on-one offer, The Blueprint, you'll learn how to experiment with ways of getting new leads. You'll learn how to experiment with ways to re-engage your existing audience. And you'll learn how to convert more people into your offer. Go to the show notes and book a call today if you're ready to start experimenting and knowing exactly what you need to do to launch your next offer or book your next one-on-one client. All right, y'all. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.
If you want more marketing that works right in your inbox, head to the show notes and sign up for the email list. You'll be the first to know how you can work with me on mastering your marketing.